It's exciting. It's now you have to go. I mean, there's no kind of we're going to try to get through and try to find a way to the playoffs. Now we've put our back against the wall. So how are we going to respond? I think this is where you'll get the best out of everybody. You'll get the best out of every person in this locker room because you know that it's time to go now. Every game matters if you want to do what we want to do, and I'm excited to see how these guys respond, and myself included.
Trey Lance has seen just a couple of snaps, just saw 2 in the loss to the Packers on Sunday night. Any chance the quarterback participation chart in San Francisco is going to be changing anytime soon?
Doesn't sound like it. And what's fascinating about this is Kyle Shanahan has been consistent since, before they even drafted Trey Lance. He has said Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback for like a million times. He has said it over and over, so much so that by the end of training camp, he basically stopped answering the question because he was like, you guys keep asking, my answer is the same. Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback until he is not. And his point is Trey Lance is going to play. He's going to come in specialized situation, probably come in the red zone. He'll have a couple plays that he's worked on and perfected and be able to unload those. But otherwise, I don't see this changing for a while. And when the 49ers took Trey Lance, their hope was that he only did this year. They believe this is a playoff-ready roster. They believe Jimmy Garoppolo is a starting quarterback for that he'll play well, that they'll make the playoffs. They'll probably trade him in the offseason, and then Trey Lance is the guy. That is the perfect situation for San Fran.
Tom, coming back to you now on Antonio Brown off the COVID-19 list. What's his availability like here for the Bucs this week against the Patriots?
Well, Rhett, procedurally, there is nothing standing in the way of Antonio Brown being on the field against his old team, the Patriots, on Sunday. Now, of course, like other players coming off the COVID list, the Bucs will want to evaluate his conditioning and everything else, but Brown was out there with his teammates today, and so certainly the indications are he's going to be ready to go. Something interesting, too, and important to clarify here when it comes to how players are activated off the reserve COVID-19 list, because if you are fully vaccinated, and Arians has said that Antonio Brown and everybody else on the team is fully vaccinated, you can return with 2 negative tests 24 hours apart as long as you're asymptomatic. But regardless of your vaccination status, after 10 days, you are eligible to return. There are a few other boxes to check. The club physician has to approve your return. If you've had even moderate symptoms, you have to pass a cardiac screening. But bottom line, there's not some kind of an extended purgatory here for somebody who is beyond any symptoms of COVID-19. After 10 days, the science would say that you're not contagious. That's why players are allowed to return at this stage, which is why Antonio Brown back with the Bucs today, Rhett.
Important distinction there, Tom. Been following all of the COVID protocols so closely for us.
Well, a couple things. One is that Kyler Murray is completing over 80% of his passes.
It's pretty good.
Of the last 2 weeks, of these last 2 wins. That's good. And he's also throwing the ball down the field. It's not like he's dinking and dunking. He's less inclined to run right now. When you watch this, Cliff Kingsbury, he never stops drawing up formations and motions. Look at this formation here. Rondale Moore is going to come into the backfield and join him right here. I don't even know what you call this, Rhett. Some kind of superpower pistol formation, but all just to run James Conner, which they really stayed with last week. They really stayed with the run. Even when they were behind early in this game, they stayed with the run against Jacksonville, and it paid off. But ultimately, when you get this formation of Max Williams, James Conner in the backfield, they want to throw this ball in their air raid system here to Christian Kirk right down the middle of the field. And really, this is just a beautiful throw. When Kyler Murray just rips it, it's pretty. It gets there in a hurry. It's a tight spiral. And when you watch this play from the end zone, you're going to see James Conner stacked behind the tight end Max Williams. He's going to come over off this play action fake and double with the right guard. And look at where Kyler Murray is. Right there behind the center, pocket quarterback, pocket awareness, and makes this throw. And then you're going to get shifts and motions like this, where you're going to get Rondale Moore right here. Who's got the ball? At the mesh point right now. Keep you guessing until you figure it out. By that time, A.J. Green, who had a breakout game last week for the Cardinals, was able to free up in the middle of that Jacksonville zone, and Kyler Murray was able to get it to him. His throwing right now is about as good as anybody in this league. We could have a real track meet this week with Matt Stafford and the Rams. But I like the fact that Kyler Murray, he's not just taking off right now and looking to scramble. He's got a Pro Bowl center and Rodney Hudson in front of him. He's helped really solidify the offensive line. Got to worry about Aaron Donald and all that this week. But he's a lot more comfortable in the pocket this year than I think I saw him the last few years.
And look, Baldy, I get not wanting to get beat deep, but did you catch the alignment of the Jaguars' deep safety on those 2 plays? I mean, he's sitting there like 30 yards deep. I mean, you're essentially playing with
10-man football
at that point. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the fear of getting beat deep. Is you put that free safety so far back that he really can't influence any of the throws that we just saw.
All right, let's dig in then. We talked last week about the stars out here in L.A. on this Rams defense and the challenge that they would have. Ramsey, Donald trying to deal with Tom Brady and the Bucs, and certainly saw Kenny Young was huge at linebacker last week for the Rams. What's the challenge this week against this Cardinals defense? How do they match up? Cardinals offense.
Well, it's very similar. I mean, Brady throws for 450 yards or whatever, but they got stops. They only had last week the Bucs only had 10 possessions. And so when you can get them to miss a field goal because of pressure from Jalen Ramsey, when you can get them to stop on 4th down, when you can make them kick field goals, that's the challenge. The Cardinals are going to gain yards, but the key is stops or field goal attempts. And that's really, I think, one thing that Raheem Morris will preach is that we may give up a lot of yards. They're a really good passing team. The quarterback can extend plays well as anybody. They've got a great receiving core. But stops is what it's about. And, and Cliff knows that. He coached in the Big 12. That's what they used to say all the time. Just get stops. We'll give up a ton of yards, because of the tempo and the style of play, but really just don't end up with touchdowns. And I think that's the challenge for the Rams.
Yes.
I mean, he's a great coach, obviously a great coach, and, has everyone prepared, does a great job of that. And obviously, I said before, taught me a lot, was a great mentor for me for a long time. And I really enjoyed my time in New England. And but at the same time, super excited about what we've done here. I got a great group of coaches here, an amazing group of guys that still motivate me and inspire me to be the best I could be for this team and this organization. And I've just had the last 18 months have been very fulfilling in a lot of different ways. And I love my football experience here as well. So I've been very blessed. I went high school football where I fell in love with that. I went to Michigan, which was amazing for me. Had its challenges, but I learned a lot. 20 years in New England was incredible. I learned a lot. Coming down here for a year and a half, I've learned a lot. So I have nothing but incredible thoughts, memories, emotions towards all the kind of football experiences I've had. And that's obviously one that was the longest. And I still have a lot of great friends there, but they know I want to kick their butt this week. So they'll know exactly how I'm feeling once I'm out there.
Look, they know it's a huge game. They're fighting for first place in the AFC West. That's at stake here. We know that there's always a little extra emphasis on divisional games. Those teams play twice a year. They're very familiar with one another, but the familiarity runs a little deeper here. There's a different level of familiarity because Gus Bradley is now the Raiders defensive coordinator. He was with the Chargers from 2017 through last season. I asked Mike Williams about this yesterday, and he said he actually thinks of it as a little bit of an advantage to them. He said, basically, we've gone up against this defense for the last 4 years. He said that he's familiar with not only Gus Bradley, but he brought with him 4 defensive assistant coaches, as well as some of the players, Casey Hayward, Denzel Perryman. He said what they need to do is simply focus on themselves, on those self-inflicted mistakes that has been kind of, coming back to bite them in the butt the last couple of weeks. So that's what they need to focus on. They do feel like they've got a little bit of an advantage, having gone up against Gus Bradley's defensive schemes for the last 4 years.
Lamar Jackson not spotted at practice today by local reporters who were out there. Also didn't practice yesterday. And I would not say this is necessarily concerning. Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, came out and told reporters before practice that Lamar was dealing with a little bit of a back thing. Thought it was going to be fine and said we'll see about his status. It was described to me, Tom, as general soreness from Lamar Jackson. So I wouldn't think this is really anything to worry about. But what it does do just a little bit is underscore the importance of keeping him healthy. I mean, he runs the ball certainly more than any other quarterback, as effectively as any other quarterback we've seen in a very long time. And his health is probably the most important thing for a Ravens team that has been beset by health issues the entire year. So if Lamar Jackson has to miss a practice or two to make sure his back is okay, I think they will be fine. I just haven't heard anything to make me believe this is anything to worry about.
Ian, that mirrors with what I've been told since last night when Lamar Jackson first missed a practice because of what was listed on the injury report as a back. They do not think this is a big deal. They think that he is going to be fine. if Lamar either can't play the entire game or cannot actually make this start, their backup would be Snoop Huntley, one-time undrafted free agent who was one of the preseason sensations, allows them to play a similar style of football. He, of course, is the guy who's getting the reps right now with the first team, with Lamar missing now 2 days of practice because of that back, Brett.
Going with Snoop Huntley. All right.
It's exciting. It's now you know you have to go. I mean, there's no kind of we're going to try to get through and try to find a way to the playoffs. Now we've put our back against the wall. So how are we going to respond? I think this is where you'll get the best out of everybody. You'll get the best out of every person in this locker room because you know that it's time to go now. Every game matters if you want to do what we want to do, and I'm excited to see how these guys respond, and myself included.
A couple of 1-2 teams meeting at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Eagles, of course, being the other. That after opening the season with an impressive win over Atlanta, now have faced back-to-back losses, with Jalen Hurts tossing his first 2 interceptions of the season in that Monday night defeat at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. Try to figure out how to find that rhythm on offense.
I just like efficiency, you know. We need to be efficient and establish the line of scrimmage and be efficient in what we do. And all of that, I've said again, throughout anything, through highs and lows, through the good, and what you may see as the bad, it starts with me. It starts with me. So I'll be better for this team.
All right, welcoming back Mike Garafolo here to this game day edition of NFL Now. As we look at this matchup here, Mike, we talked about it on Move the Sticks a bunch on Monday. The Chargers' game plan against the Chiefs. Play deep, make them be patient moving the ball down the field. That's something we could see the Eagles try to implore this week?
Yeah, probably, just because of the way that Kansas City is then making their mistakes on top of that. I mean, that's a great game plan if they're going to help you with that. And if they're not running the football, which they did a little better against the Chargers and feel like they could do even better going forward as that offensive line, which has got a lot of new pieces, really begins to come together. Now, that'll force teams out of that. Now you got to bring a safety down, and now you can't really necessarily play on your heels back there. You got to be a little bit more on your toes. I mean, we say it all the time. You go up against the Chiefs, who are you going to double? You can double Tyreek Hill. You can double Travis Kelce. I've seen teams go one way and then another team go the other way the next half. But it looks like it's more of a focus on Tyreek Hill, stopping the Chiefs from making the explosive plays and saying, can they be patient and can they play mistake-free football? I mean, look, even for a team as talented and as well coached and as smart on the sidelines and on the field as the Chiefs are, it's tough to play mistake-free football when you have to play patient like that. So it's worked out the last couple of weeks. We also know that Andy Reid's pretty good at realizing what defenses are doing and now all of a sudden scheming things up to maybe get those explosive plays back. So let's see the little chess match that's going to be played between the Eagles secondary and the Chiefs offense on Sunday, because the Chiefs really need to start clicking as far as those big plays go.
The other age-old saying here, tongue-in-cheek, is that you got to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, right? And, well, you know, long drives, extended drives, running game would be a couple of ways to get that done for Philadelphia, although they haven't seemed too interested in that aspect of the offense here, Mike.
I believe you're going to see a dedication to the running game coming up on Sunday against Kansas City, in part because their defense is not playing well, but also because Nick Sirianni realizes the criticism that's coming off of Monday night when Miles Sanders didn't touch the football enough. Now, he tried to explain it away by saying some of those passes were called runs in the fact that they are RPOs, right? Run pass options, and they didn't necessarily get the run look. So he's okay with that one being a pass if we didn't get the run look from the defense. But that being said, he realizes Miles Sanders needs to touch the ball more than 5 times, and I expect that to be the case this upcoming week. They're going to be R's, runs. There's going to be no PO on the end of those for some of those, I believe, as Nick Sirianni tries to get Miles Sanders feeling good about it, the offense feeling good about there's the ball in Miles Sanders' hand, and yeah, we can run the football and we can be a more balanced offense.